Hey guys, welcome back. I hope everybody's doing well. As the title says, this video is on preparedness. It's based on the question, what is prepping to you then? That was put to me at the shop a few weeks ago, and there was no way I would have time to be able to address that question and answer it properly in the amount of time I could get away with spending on it at the shop. So here we are doing a video on it. So stick around for a few minutes and we will discuss prepping from a realistic standpoint rather than a Hollywood standpoint. As I mentioned before, preparedness is a pretty involved subject. You know, people shorten it to prepping and preppers. Largely because they see things on television, but preparedness is a much broader subject than anything Hollywood is ever going to show you. A lot of it is, in their mind, boring with their over-the-top sensationalism to draw people in for ratings. But there's a lot of it that they think is boring that's actually very beneficial and can help keep us alive. While I'm here at the back of the Jeep, we'll just start here. You know, for some people, you know, prepping is putting together their bug out bag or their get home bag. You know, making sure they have freeze-dried foods or whatever and the water to make them with, and that's part of it. And so is having contingency kits and emergency preparedness kits, things to go wrong. You know, an emergency bivy bag. We have some versions of this at the store, and hot hands. You know, these combined with each other can save your life on a highway if you break down in the winter and you don't have the vehicle's heat to keep your core temperature above 95 degrees, because once your core temperature drops below 95, if something doesn't immediately happen to raise it back up, it's over. Your game is done. You've gone on to the next plane of existence shortly after that. Vehicularly speaking, you know, in the wintertime, it's good to have extra blankets. It's good to have, you know, jumper cables, whether for you or someone else. But if you're going to be stranded, and if you end up being stranded and you have to ask somebody to boost you off, it's good if you're prepared to facilitate that. It's good if you're prepared to be able to find your way through the state you're driving through. I mean, it's good to have, you know, a gallon of water or coolant for the car. It's good to check your spare before you make any road trips, or check it regularly just on your commute back and forth to work. So that sort of preparedness, like having de-icer on hand, preferably not inside the vehicle, to de-ice the door locks, and a windshield scraper to scrape the ice off in the morning before you leave, and that needs to all be outside the vehicle, not frozen inside it. Learned that lesson the hard way a long time ago. But there are other elements of preparedness that go into just day-to-day life. You know, being prepared to sign the bill, pay the check at the end of dinner if the server doesn't have a pen or their pen quits working. Just something as simple as that. It's, you know, being prepared. I took my light off a minute ago, but being prepared to, you know, light up the darkness if the power goes out or you're on the side of the road trying to figure out what's going on. It's why this light stays around my neck 99% of the time. So does the knife. I designed for emergency purposes. You never know when you're going to need to cut something. If you're in an urban environment, riding mass transit, like, You know, like I did in Miami, I always had a heavy duty pen and some kind of small knife stashed on my person, because while 98% of the time everything was fine, there were those occasions when things got a little iffy, and you need to be able to defend yourself in a hard world sometimes. But there's a lot more to it than that, and I'm going to reset up the camera and we're going to go into other scenarios of preparedness and prepping and just being prepared in general. You know, it's what survival instructors consider, you know, situational awareness, knowing what can happen in an environment by being aware of what is in the environment. You know, in Ephesians, the Bible refers to it as circumspection when it says, as Christians, we are to walk through the world circumspectly as wise people and not as fools, and being aware of our surroundings and what can happen. So it's a pretty involved subject. But give me a few minutes and I'm going to rearrange everything. Maybe go up to the studio and set up there. I think will be the best place for now. And we'll be right back. So here we are. I've got the table set up here in the studio so that I can go into a little bit of background on preparedness. I'll go into a little bit of the history of it from my perspective and how I saw it growing up and how it developed from, you know, for me, and from how it developed as far as I can tell from what I saw growing up. Now, in the early days, my family was prepping before prepping was considered a term or even cool or any of that. It wasn't even called preparedness. It was just being aware, being circumspect. My father was a Marine who had grown up during the Depression and had gone off to fight in Korea and travel around the world in the Marines and saw a lot of things. And when he came home, he saw the world a little differently. And my mother, when I was young, was head cashier at Kroger's. So between the two of them, we did a lot of prepping because it was the Cold War. We were still doing bomb drills and hiding under our desks at the elementary school. And I would get phone calls after school to go down and hide in the basement in our cellar because, you know, the saber rattling was going on between the communists and us, and all of that was happening in the 60s and 70s. So we always had, you know, things like dry pastas and cheese and meats that didn't need to be refrigerated, you know, tins, Spam, infamous Spam. Lots of fish steaks and sardines, oysters. And then eventually things progressed, you know. Well, actually I'm skipping something. We used military surplus equipment as well for our preparedness, and canteen, and it has the cup and stove that goes with it, and then the mess kit for cooking and eating out of. And it's, a lot of people have seen it. Part of it serves as a frying pan, part of it serves as your plate, or you can cook in both of them, eat out of either or both. And, you know, we had surplus tools and equipment, surplus military knives, pilot survival knife. Magnesium fire starters were the thing. And then things got, you know, progressed past the days of the military stuff and the K rations and C rations and tins of meat, and we got into more long-term storage foods like MREs and MRE components that, you know, I still keep around. As you can see, I still keep the tins of meat and stuff around. And they've never helped me survive doomsday, but having all my caches of meats and proteins and dry beans and canned vegetables and what have you stashed back did help my family survive a few layoffs during recessions in relative comfort without having to worry where we were going to get food for a few weeks while I regrouped, because I always had a couple of months worth of food on hand. But in time, it became a mindset of just preparedness. And it wasn't all about a bunker or, enough tannerite to blow up a car in your driveway and seal yourself in the siege, I guess. I don't know. Hollywood does some weird things. But for us, it was just about being prepared to, handle some hardship, being able to handle some challenges that came along the way. I mean, even in some of the more office type environments and college environments, you spend time in, you have to be a little more, sheeple friendly, I guess. And so I'll do a close-up of these in a minute, but you carry a little bit different gear for that than, say, when I was down in Atlanta, photographing some of the peaceful events that were happening in the spring and summer of 2020. And so that was a lot of what I carried was subdued and dark and easily accessible and maneuverable and durable and that sort of thing, and concealable and disguisable. And things like that, you learn that fire right now can be your friend in either environment. And it doesn't matter if it's, for cold weather survival, or, starting a fire for that, or starting something larger on fire as a distraction to E&E from an aggressive force. So the mindset just continues and just grows into just being prepared for life and the things that life throw at you, like having the Victorinox Explorer that I like to have, because the magnifying glass is great. As a single dad, for me, getting splinters out, using the magnifying glass and the tweezers worked really handy for things like that. The screwdriver for fixing toys or replacing batteries, and the scissors for several things, including, cutting gum out of a little girl's hair before the mess got absolutely carried away. So there's being prepared. The whole idea of it is a lot more than just being prepared for some doomsday that may or never come. I mean, not that man's not capable of destroying himself. I just tend to have more faith in thinking that he won't. But, the history of man is the history of war, and vice versa. So obviously things go wrong. And, sometimes preparedness is knowing that you need to have extra magazine on hand, that one might not be enough to get you through the situation. In Atlanta in 2020, having the Exotag rip spool, which is like 6 feet of Gorilla duct tape and some twine, was great for field expedient repair on my camera lens when it got banged around some with me jumping off of walls and climbing over fences and what have you to avoid some of the peacefulness that was going on. So that's the thing, you know, when you ask what is preparedness to me, then it's just it's being prepared to just handle whatever may come. And I try to stick to the probable. I mean, some people take it beyond that and go into the improbable but possible. Excuse me. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, you know, being prepared. As Benjamin Franklin's said it best when he said that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, you know, all of these things are little insurance policies against, you know, happenstance. You know, and they've gotten lighter over the years. I mean, we used to have to carry bulky things like, you know, military surplus blankets to have something that was weather resistant and environmentally friendly. Now they've got emergency bivvies and complete kits for people. Just study these and make sure that you know how to use what they give you, and you know the value of what's there, and understand that you probably need to add some more things to it. That this is just the bare minimum, bare necessities, and can be I don't know the term for it at the moment, but it can be false hope is, I guess, is what I'm thinking of. So read the list, and this is very extensive. I mean, it tells you everything that's in these kits that's required by law, I think. And, you know, it tells you what these are rated to. These are great. Bivy bags are awesome. That and a couple of hand warmers can save your life. Like I said earlier in the video, if you're stranded on the side of the road, you know. And years ago, for serious wounds, we had things like compression bandages and, you know, field dressings. Now we're fortunate, and we have, it'll come out of there, things like bleed stop to complement our band-aids and what have you, that can stop serious wounds. I know this from experience. I will probably at some point put some pictures of how this helped me on our social media, but it will probably get censored for graphic content. So you may have to click on the graphic content to see it, or bypass it if you don't want to see it. It was pretty graphic. But anyway, I hope that this gives you a little bit more of an idea on what prepping is. Now I'm going to step around and bring the camera in closer and talk about the things that are here on the table that are worth highlighting, going to a little more detail on. Okay, well, now I've got the camera rearranged and turned around, and you can see more about what I was talking about here about in the executive office school type environment that can require some adjustments and some discretion. You know, I want to appear less threatening, but still be able to, turning it the wrong way because I'm doing it backwards. Still want to be able to make light. You still want to be able to defend yourself, even if it's with a heavy-duty pen. You know, like something that you can be used as a Kubotan. A small fire starter that's, you know, self-contained, has the ferro rod inside, and it's onboard striker. A small, thin knife. I think Case even calls this the executive. Very thin, very light, but not really all that threatening, kind of small, kind of basic. A watch that doesn't scream, I'm a soldier on tactical maneuvers, and a less tactical looking Zippo. Because like I said, fire right now is one of the things that separates the humans from the other creatures on the earth, is the ability to do that. His ability to create fire on command. And in other environments, call for a more subdued look. It's like in Atlanta, and out through when I was doing the photographing of the more peaceful events here in Chattanooga during 2020. The SA3 was one of my knives of choice because it's thin, it's very durable, it's very functional, and also very versatile as far as the carry system, being able to relocate it from one part of the body to the other. And even my chopsticks, which are two-piece threaded titanium chopsticks that hang in a pouch around my neck when I'm out and about wandering around. And the Tough Rider pen goes with me a lot on journaling nights, as Jack makes some amazing equipment. If you're not familiar with Tough Rider, maybe check them out. And the Seiko, I think S5, I'm not sure what model it is. It's an automatic, so I don't have to worry about it running down while I'm on, or battery dying. As long as I'm moving, it's powered. And then the last ditch piece, one I designed for me personally, is the last resort knife, the last smallest fixed blade survival knife I could come up with based on my experiences and my needs in urbanized and woodland environments. So that kind of tells you a little bit more about that side of preparedness and that sort of mindset, because like I said, having children will teach you to stay prepared to handle little emergencies. It's the reason why I developed these contingency kits when my oldest daughter was pretty young. And that's one of the rib spools that I used to repair the camera. You can actually see the damage that was done to the lens, this lens on one of those outings, and how it's duct taped together and how it's been bashed around. It's an interesting world we live in, especially when it goes mostly peaceful. But anyway, that kind of tells you a little. And luckily, these days we don't have to have the heavy tins. We got, long-term storing food. We carry these in the shop, the 4 Patriots, and carry the instant powdered milk, which back in my day was big, huge boxes of Carnation instant powdered milk that were not conducive to long-term storage at all, easily chewed into by rodents and what have you. These are much, much better. But anyway, I think this kind of gives you a little better understanding of things. So thanks for stopping in. I hope you enjoyed this video. And more importantly, I hope it helps you have a better understanding and context of the mindset of preparedness from a realistic, less sensational perspective. And I hope it can help you understand why some of us do certain things and that we're not really crazy. We've seen the benefits of this. It was my grandparents' canned foods that got us through many harsh winters during the recession of the 70s. It was some rough times. We had dried onions and dried garlic hanging all over the back porch, and a pantry full of canned tomatoes and canned okra, green beans, peas. It was a little bit of everything. And thanks to that, and thanks to Grandpa's foreknowledge of how bad things can get from his raising several children during the Great Depression of the 1930s, he was able to get his family through the recession of the 70s with a lot less struggle. And I'm very thankful. I'm very blessed. Our Creator has put me on such a wonderful path for me to be able to learn all of this stuff and be able to understand it and be able to help my family survive these times, and hopefully help other people out there understand it and maybe survive any rough times that may be coming. We have no idea what's coming in 2024. We just have to take it one day at a time. That's all we can do. So anyway, thank you for stopping in. I hope you had have a better context of what preparedness is now, at least what preparedness is to me then. And I hope it can help you understand preparedness for you and how you should do your preps for your situation, for your environment. So stop in next time. We'll see what I've gotten into, see what I've put together. And until then, all of you stay safe and be blessed.